Hello, my name is Renee and I work at the library at Collister. Welcome to the unboxing video for our STEM from the Start Fairy Tale STEM Kit. This program is brought to you by us at Boise Public Library and generously funded by the Idaho STEM Action Center. Thank you, STEM Action Center! So today we'll go over what's in our bag and the different fun activities that we have to do. You might be thinking to yourself, what do fairy tales and STEM have to do with each other? But fairy tales are awesome for learning about STEM because they're stories that adults and kids of all ages are very familiar with. So they give us some background knowledge that we can then start to learn about science and technology and engineering and math with those things we already know. In our activity kit, we have 4 different stories that are going to have activities to go with them. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about the grown-up part of our bag, which is our info bag on the outside. So in here we have a handout that talks more about learning with fairy tales that you can do at home and has lots of suggested reading for your kiddos. We have a little info sheet with just some basics about the program, a link to where you can find the story time that goes with this kit, and links for the digital version of our surveys. We have an envelope with the exciting paper versions of our surveys. So in here we have one pre-survey for before your kids do the kit and one post-survey for after they do the kit. If you're able to fill these out, that is a super big help for us because it helps us figure out what we can do to make the kits better and what we can do to bring in even more fun stuff in the future. So again, you can do the paper versions of these, drop them in one of our book drops, or you can use the links on the info handout and do them online. The last thing in the bag is a couple of the supplies we need for some of our activities. We've got some colored pencils for drawing. We've got a regular pencil for doing some pre-writing. Okay, inside every bag for your kiddo, we have a fairy tale folder. All right, now it's time to talk about our fairy tale activities. So inside each kit, your child's going to find a fairy tale folder. On the front, it says My Fairy Tale Folder, and it has a place for your child or their grown-up to help them write their name. And inside are all of our activities and stories. There's also a few special supplies like some graph paper and some construction paper they'll need for the activities. Let's go through our activities. The first one is going to be for Jack and the Beanstalk. Each activity starts with a copy of the story so that you can read through it and refresh your kiddo's memory, or if you haven't had a chance to read it together before, this is a great opportunity to bring in that literacy element and learn from the story. So Jack and the Beanstalk is all about growing magical beans. Growing beans can actually be pretty easy, and this is a great opportunity to learn about the life cycle of the plant. So for our activity, we have some information about how plants grow and a coloring activity kids can do. And then on the back, we've got all our instructions about growing beans. This is something you can do at home even if you don't have the kit or if you decide you want to grow more afterwards. You just need a Ziploc bag and a paper towel and a few beans. These ones are lima beans, but you can use pinto beans, lentils, pretty much any kind of dried bean will work pretty well. All you're going to do is get your paper towel a little bit damp and place it inside your bag and then place your beans on it or right inside the edge of it. And you want to place it either on a table or you can tape it up in a window. Make sure there's lots of sun. If you do tape it up in a window, make sure that window's not going to get too cold and frosty overnight because the beans won't like that. Once you've got your beans up, you can start working on your bean predictions. Predicting means guessing what's going to happen. So we have a little prediction box where we can draw a picture of what we think our bean will look like after 2 weeks of growing. Then we have a special box for each day so that you can use your colored pencils to draw a picture of what your bean looks like and go back and look at your life cycle of the plant and see what's happening to your bean as it grows. At the end, if you're able to successfully get your beans to sprout, you can even move them into another pot and keep them growing. Maybe even get to eat them eventually. Yeah. The next activity we have is all about the three little pigs. So as you know, in the story of the three little pigs, we have a big bad wolf who is very into knocking down the houses of our three little pigs. So we're going to learn all about how we can build better houses for our pigs. We've got a little book that has different ideas and suggestions for how we can think about how to build the best house and try out different ways of building it. We've got some special materials you can use for building your houses. We've got some bricks, some sticks, and some straws. And you have another baggie in here that has some tape and rubber bands and paper clips and all kinds of things you can use to put those together. And then when you're ready to build your houses, we've got some little figures that you can cut up and put together to be the pigs that sit inside your houses and the big bad wolf that's gonna come blow them down. This is also a great opportunity to use your graph paper and your colored pencils and practice drawing what your houses might look like before you build. The next story we're going to use for an activity is Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And this is my favorite activity. We are going to learn how to code the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Every story has an author that writes the story, and every code has a programmer that writes the code. In a story, things need to happen in a certain order for everything to make sense. Like, Goldilocks can't be eating the bear's porridge if she's already fallen asleep in their beds. She has to eat the porridge first. And codes are the same way. If things don't happen in a certain order, the code won't work. So we're going to learn how we can make our own code with Goldilocks. We have a little coding map with different squares on it, and some of the squares have the activities that happen in the story. So we have the bear's house, we have the woods where they go for their walk, we have their bowls of porridge, and their chairs, and their beds. And in the front part of your folder, you're going to have a little bag with some different icon cards in it. First thing you'll want to do is get your bear cards and your Goldilocks card ready. So you have two paper clips, and you want to unfold the paper clip so that the little part is sticking up. And take a little piece of tape from your bag that has all the tape and paper clips and everything in it, and use that to tape the small piece to the back of your Goldilocks and bear cards. And this will make it so that they can stand up, kind of like little game pieces. And we need to figure out what order our Goldilocks and our bears go in. For that, we have our cards. So most of our cards just have arrows on them that tell us where to go. But we also have a green triangle that tells us where to start, kind of like a start button you might push on an app on your iPad. And we have a big red X to tell us to stop, that's the end of the story. And all of our arrows, you can rotate them so you can make them go any direction you want. So with Goldilocks, for her story, the first thing that happens is she comes to the house. So she starts out at the house, and then she wants to head towards the porridge. So we're going to use our arrows to point her upwards until she gets to the porridge. Then from the porridge, she'll need to go to the bear's chairs and then to the beds. And then when she gets to the beds, she'll stop. And then it'll be time to go back and do your bear's story. And your bears are gonna come home from their walk in the woods, and they're gonna find their empty bowls of porridge and find their broken chairs, and then they have to find Goldilocks in the bed. And if you want, after you've figured out the order that your cards need to go in, you have these pages where you can write the order that your bears and Goldilocks did their activities in. So you can use your colored pencils. You've got a green and a red in there for your start and stop. And you've got your regular pencil or a black pencil that you can use for your arrows. You just put one mark in each square. If your child's a little bit older, maybe like a 5 or 6 year old, if they want, they can practice looking at the map and drawing out the sequence of activities before they lay out the cards, because that's a little bit more of a challenge. This is great because these are pretty simple icons, so it's a good way to practice making simple lines for kids who are pre-writers. And if kids mess up a few times, that's normal. A story's not done on its first draft, and codes usually don't work the first time you write them. They have bugs that need to be fixed. So encourage your kids to erase and redo and rework their cards and practice and have fun, because that's what's most important. Okay, it's time for our last activity, which is Rapunzel. As we all know, poor Rapunzel is stuck up in that very big tower. She would probably like to get out of there. So we have a bag that's got all different kinds of materials in it. You've got a tube in here that you can use with the construction paper in your folder to make a nice little tower for your Rapunzel doll. And you've got a little wooden doll that can be your Rapunzel. If you want, you can build her a little scaffold on her tower that she can sit on, maybe out of tape or paper clips or something else. And you've got your baggie that's got pipe cleaners and yarn and string and tape and rubber bands and all different kinds of things, so you can help Rapunzel find a way to get down from the tower. All right, thank you so much for coming to enjoy this unboxing video, and thank you to all of those who've been able to register. If you want to, please check out our storytime video as well. The link for that will be in the comments. And thank you again to the Idaho STEM Action Center for helping us make this program series happen. We'll see you again in January.